Welcome back, folks, to Ask Sam. We've got a series of questions. I'm going to try to get these in as quickly as I can. So here goes. By the way, I'm very appreciative that you keep these coming in because people do want to know, and they're not getting all of the information because of time management from the medical field. But just keep in mind, I am not a doctor. I am a researcher providing information, and hopefully you can discuss these with your doctor. And if he has any questions, I'd be more than happy to talk to anyone. So here goes. Laura asks about uveal melanoma, which is, I believe, a melanoma around the eyelids or associated with the eye. Metastasized to bone and lung, biopsy on lung confirmed, same as eye. Okay, so ValAsta works the same way as a PD-L1 inhibitor. Typically, melanoma is a PD-L1 inhibited or a PD-L1 presenting cancer, and Keytruda, Opdivo, Yervoy, these are all chemo treatments that work on melanoma, but ValAsta works exactly the same way, except Keytruda and Opdivo react and inhibit the PD-1 of the T cell, whereas ValAsta inhibits the PD-L1 of the cancer cell. And the key is if you have the PD-1 of the T cell is going down to sniff every cell in your body. They check to see if it's normal or bacterial or whatever. So now you got this cancer cell that's presenting a PD-L1. If they come into contact with each other, then the T cell will run away, and the cancer cell will thrive and continue on. Now, if the PD-1 of the T cell is inhibited with Keytruda or Opdivo, it can't make contact with the PD-L1. And if it can't make contact, the T cell will kill the cancer cell very, very quickly. Also, if the PD-L1 of the cancer cell is inhibited, the PD-1 can't make contact with the PD-L1 and it will kill the cancer cell. If you do a Keytruda, Opdivo, or a treatment for melanoma that addresses the PD-1 or the PD-L1, you inhibit both. You have a much better chance of that T cell killing that cancer cell. So there's a very good synergistic reason why you would use both in conjunction. They do not inhibit each other. There's no contraindication between. One is not an antagonist against the other. So ValAsta will work, or has been working, with very, very impressive results from melanoma. So it's definitely worth a shot. You'll see changes within 30 days. The bone metastasis and the lung metastasis, those tumors will probably stop their growth in as little as 2 weeks. And you'll see on the next scan either a stability of it caused by a scarring of that the cancer has caused, or an actual reduction in the size of those tumors. But the first thing that you should notice is an increased energy. In some cases, we see weight gain where they were losing weight. So it's a very, very positive. Very successful so far to date. Vic asks about Pro and hair growth. Let's see. Pro is a treatment for hair loss. How does ValAsta interfere with PRP treatment? PRP treatment, the one that I'm referring to, is a platelet replacement, where they take part of your blood out and they remove the red blood cells and they put back in a concentrated form of your immune-related cells. These can be lymphocytes, T cells, beta cells, macrophages. Now, one of the things that they do is it increases the response. So let me read on here just to bring everybody up to speed. The doctor said part of the process is the PRP causes good inflammation for healing and stimulating new hair growth after the PRP injections. And to avoid these nutritional supplements, you see them all there, and astaxanthins included. Also, do not take anti-inflammatory medications. Okay, so what they're doing here is they're injecting this extreme rich immune components that actually works by increasing the inflammatory state. Chemo does the same thing. Chemo causes a severe inflammatory response in hopes that your immune system will either take over, or you kill everything and the immune system hopefully will clean up the mess. If your doctor tells you to stay away from natural supplements or antioxidants, then that's what you have to go. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to countermand what the doctor says. But there's a couple things. If you're doing this for hair growth, I want you to understand something that causes that the doctors don't address. In this case here, they're only treating the symptoms of the disease. So what causes hair loss in men and women is when testosterone, in the presence of the hydroxyl-free radical and an enzyme called 5-alpha reductase, all work together to form and react to form two products. One is called dihydrotestosterone. The other product is peroxide. Those are the products of that conversion of testosterone to DHT. DHT is what causes hair loss. And if you reduce the hydroxyl free radical concentration by taking anti-inflammatories, that's a positive. If you reduce or take a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor, although there's some side effects with that, that would be a positive to stop the formation of DHT. In this case here, temporarily, they're going to inject you with a high concentration of hydroxyl-free radicals, and that is always of concern, but the idea is to increase the level temporarily of testosterone to DHT. If they can reduce that level by introducing these types of plasmas into you, then that is all a very good possibility of stopping the hair loss. We see it more prevalent in women. When they get on ValAsta, for example, with nothing else, their hair begins to grow back. In men, it doesn't seem to work that well. But I would be curious to follow up, Vic, and see where you are as this progresses. Maria asks, histamine intolerance, oxalate, crystal disease. I've been taking ValAsta for about a year. I have a histamine intolerance and an oxalate crystal disease. I'd like to take ivermectin from time to time and melatonin. However, when I do, it causes histamine response. I get insomnia with no sleep at all. I have to discontinue. This happens not only with high histamine foods, but supplements and medicine as well. How can I take ivermectin and melatonin and still sleep? To put it in a nutshell, I have no idea. I don't know. If your body is that sensitive to ivermectin and melatonin due to a histamine release, then I don't think that ValAsta is going to be all that helpful in trying to reduce the histamine levels. How can I mitigate the histamine responses from these as well as other triggers so it can at least take ivermectin and melatonin? My CRP is under 5 in January of this year. if you're having that kind of a response, then it makes no difference whether you take the ValAsta or not. And I can't tell you how to take ivermectin or melatonin if you're having an allergic reaction, which basically is what's triggering the histamine. So you've got to resolve that. This is not a a ValAsta problem per se, and I don't have an answer for you. I'm sorry. Shane asks, ketosis, balding, and sunburns. Hold on just for a minute. I got to plug in my machine. Could you take ValAsta on a water-only fast? And the answer of that is yes, you can. Are there benefits or harm while only having astaxanthin in your body in a state of ketosis? No. When you're fasting and your stomach is empty, the olive oil in the oil-based ValAsta might give you a little bit of a reaction, a bile reaction from your liver, causing more bile to be produced. When that bile is produced, there's only two places it can go, either directly into your gallbladder or it'll go into your duodenum, duodenum, part of your small bowel, and it can cause if there's no food for it to act on, that can be an irritant, and in some severe cases, especially people without gallbladders, there's even been cases reported with oil ingestion on an empty stomach of having green bile bowel movements. So just watch it. It's not harmful, but it can cause a little bit of a stomach ache when that happens. Can ValAsta reverse balding or going gray? Not so much going gray, as you'll notice. I'm actually a little bald, probably not as severe as I should be, but I'm definitely gray. So we can answer that one pretty easily. ValAsta works very well on balding in women. In most cases, we see women with tremendous hair growth after they've been on ValAsta. And a lot of that is what I explained earlier, is what's causing it is DHT, dihydrotestosterone. A key component in the conversion of testosterone to DHT is the hydroxyl free radical. If we eliminate the hydroxyl free radical, the testosterone levels rise, the DHT levels drop, and we see the balding progression stopping. So that's something very, very important to keep in mind. It works better on women than it does on men, but I think it has to do with the level of testosterone that men have, and the amount of DHT that we produce it far exceeds that of what women produce. So a small change in the hydroxyl free radical concentration has a huge effect on women. It doesn't necessarily have that same effect on men. No sunburns, for real? Crazy. This, in fact, is true. And we're getting more and more comments and testimonials now on people who typically would get sunburned. And these are light-skinned folks. These are people in England, in Ireland, in Sweden, where high doses of the ValAsta is keeping them from getting sunburned and the pain associated with sunburns. It should have been really fundamental in our knowledge of astaxanthin, because it's the primary reason that the algae produces astaxanthin in the first place, is to keep the sun's UV radiation as its pond dries up from killing it. So the algae produces astaxanthin to stop, quote, sunburns. And it just so happens it works in salmon. When it gets into shallow water with high intensity sun, and the antioxidant effect keeps the salmon alive as it goes from salt water to fresh water. That's a tremendous stressful condition to the point that it eventually results in the death of the salmon. It's so stressful. But they store up enough astaxanthin to make the journey and to protect themselves against a lot of these oxidative stress conditions that they're going to encounter. But it does appear to be for real. It's happening. Shane also wants understanding using ValAsta. More seriously, please help me understand, explain to the simple-minded such as myself. In general, you can't manage what you don't measure. That's true. Whether taking for cancer or simply for maintenance and improving your health. Step 1 is knowing your inflammatory disease state with a CRP test and keep it under 3 milligrams per liter if you're not already there. That's absolutely true. We can chase, and so many people are chasing their health with all kinds of additives, and they just keep adding one vitamin, one thistle, one mushroom, more. They just keep adding it. Keep in mind that each one of those has to be processed through your liver. So you've got to be very, very careful. More is not better when it comes to these things. You have to know what it is that you're trying to reduce, and you have to be able to measure your results. People who are taking, I don't know, thistle or turmeric or some herb, some plant, some leaf. If you're not able to measure your response, then why are you doing it? Or if you don't have a reason to do it, why are you doing it? So all of that is extremely important when you're dealing in using any form of natural type products. And that's always been the problem, is that the natural products are not understood well enough as far as their cause and effect and the interactions of them. So, for example, if I take one product and I see a response, I can attribute it to that one variable. If I take 2 products, I have possible responses as a result of either one alone or 2 alone, or the interaction of 1 and 2. So I get 3 possibilities of having remediated my response. If I do 3 variables, if I take 3 different vitamins, vitamin E, vitamin C, and rosebuds or hemp, and so now I have, it could be from 1, it could be from the 2, from the second one, it could be from the third one, or it could be an interaction of 1 and 2, it could be an interaction between 1 and 3, or it can be an interaction of 2 and 3, or it could be an interaction of 1, 2, and 3. So 3 different things that you're taking. There's 6 options as to which one actually caused the response. So you can see how difficult it gets. With 1, it's 1. With 2, it's 3. With 3, it's 6. With 4, it really begins to take off to the point that you cannot correlate the outcome to the input, to the cause. So always keep that in mind. More is not better. Taking more vitamins, taking more things, you're just chasing your tail. Make sure you understand, number 1, why are you taking it? What are you deficient in to take it? If you're not deficient in it, or you can't measure that deficiency, my suggestion is you don't do it. And that's what took us so long with ValAsta, years and years, because we had to know exactly how it interacted, how do we measure our results, and how do we correlate those results back to the cause. So just keep that in mind. More is not better. And in most cases, less is a lot better. A lot of people are taking massive doses of vitamin C. Now, if you're not, if you don't have gum disease or scurvy, I can't think of a reason, or if you're not determined to be deficient in vitamin C, I don't know why you're taking it. It's what's been ingrained in us and promoted by so many companies. But be very, very careful on the interactions of these things that you're doing. If sick, CRP over 3 milligrams per liter, you basically can't take enough ValAsta to do any harm, so go nuts, so long as you can stay hydrated to ensure absorption. Otherwise, you basically miss out and waste the ValAsta benefits. You want to keep your CRP under 3. And the way that I do it is some days my life's a lot more stressful than others, and it will creep up. And so what I do is I knock it back down again. You're trying to empty the water tank. Instead of it being with water, it's a hydroxyl. It's a tank full of hydroxyl free radicals. Anything I can do to reduce that inventory is going to keep me from being in a disease state. Shane, questions continue. Will the cream help on moles or warts? Heck, what about cuts and bruises for that matter? Is the hemp oil mix ValAsta offers better than supplementing with different hemp oil? The only reason that we have hemp oil in it is because we saw some positive effects in the healing process of the flavonoids contained within the hemp oil. So we decided to include it. Some people like the idea of the hemp oil. Hemp oil can be taken simultaneously, but hemp oil doesn't have the longevity, the net accumulation of the flavonoids to protect you over a long period of time. It is being shown to reduce pain levels in cancer patients, but about every 2 hours you have to increase it again. Is there ever an age or condition where ValAsta would be a lost cause? Pops is 94. Doc's found cancer in his neck. Not doing hot, but too old to do radiation. Why not do it? You know, all we have in life, there's no guarantees. All we have is hope. And I'm not dealing with people who have given up or lost hope. And he's 94 years old. And there's no reason not to do it. There's no downside to it, and it might help with his pains, his arthritis. But you know, we're not getting out of here alive, and people are still going to perish. But there's no sense in giving up hope and writing it off when these options are available to us. How often do you test your CRP? Currently, I'm doing it about every quarter, maybe twice a year. But that came after years and years of watching it. And I do 100 milligrams a day. Tommy and I both just had a coronary exam. It was on the radio station where they went in and looked at our heart and our arteries. But we're in great shape. The anti-inflammatory properties of ValAsta, we have I'm 70. I have no arthritis. I'm in good shape. But until you can get it stabilized and you can see your trend line, test at least every 30 days until you get a real good understanding as to what your dose of ValAsta is and how your body is responding to that dose. And with that, I'm going to close. I want to thank everyone for sending in their questions. You are getting out to a lot of people just from the calls that come in. They're referring to these AskSam videos, and it's all about providing the information, providing the knowledge, so that people can get a better understanding, because there's nothing more important than your health. Thank you very much.